Don't, that's forbidden. The rancher looked anyway and did the unthinkable. Jack Thompson had always lived a life shaped by the land. From the time he was a boy, growing up under the wide blue skies of a small rural town, he had learned the value of hard work, patience, and respect for the earth. His father had been a stern man, a rancher who believed in rules, discipline, and the quiet dignity of tending to one's responsibilities. Jack had inherited not only the ranch, but also his father's sense of order and his unspoken love for the land that had been in the family for generations. The Thompson Ranch was modest but well kept, stretching over rolling fields dotted with patches of wildflowers, grazing pastures, and a cluster of sturdy oak trees that provided shade in the hot summer months. The house was old, wooden, and full of memories. Its walls held stories in every creak, every scratch on the floor, every faded photograph lining the shelves. Jack loved the place, not for its perfection but for its history. Each corner, each stone in the path leading from the house to the barn, seemed to carry a whisper of the past. Jack's days were full but predictable. He woke with the sun, the early light painting gold across the pastures, and began his morning chores without hesitation. The smell of fresh hay, the soft lowing of the cattle, and the gentle rustling of leaves in the morning breeze were constants in his life, comforting and grounding. Feeding the animals, checking fences, repairing broken gates, and ensuring the fields were ready for the next planting were tasks he performed with care. He knew that the health of the ranch depended on attention to every detail, no matter how small. He lived alone with his daughter, Emma. She was 15, bright-eyed and full of energy, a young girl whose curiosity often matched the restless wind that swept across the open fields. Emma was clever, compassionate, and eager to learn everything about the world, a stark contrast to her father's calm, measured nature. Though she often wanted to explore the world beyond the ranch, she understood and respected her father's routines. Their bond was quiet but strong, built on trust, shared laughter, and unspoken understanding. The only other constant companion in their lives was Rusty, their loyal dog. Rusty had been with Jack since he was a pup, and now, in his older age, he was slower but no less devoted. He followed Jack wherever he went, his presence a silent comfort. Whether lying in the sun near the barn, chasing after Emma when she ran across the field, or guarding the house against stray animals, Rusty's loyalty was unwavering. Jack often joked that the dog understood more about life than most people in town. Despite the peaceful life he led, Jack had always respected a rule that was passed down from his father, a rule he never broke and never questioned. There was a particular area deep in the woods bordering the ranch, a place that had always been off-limits. His father had warned him countless times, "Never go there, Jack. Some things are not meant for our eyes." The reason for the prohibition was never explained. Locals whispered about it, spinning tales of strange sightings and unusual happenings, but no one dared to venture near it. Jack had listened, and for years he obeyed. But that summer, something began to stir within him. It was subtle at first, a flicker of curiosity when he passed the edge of the forbidden land while checking fences, a lingering thought when he noticed unusual marks on the trees from a distance. He told himself it was nothing, a trick of the imagination, but the feeling grew stronger each day. There was a pull, an inexplicable desire to know what lay beyond the familiar boundaries of his property. He tried to dismiss it, focusing on chores, repairing fences, and teaching Emma the skills she would need to manage the ranch one day. Yet, the curiosity refused to fade. Jack's mind often wandered as he worked. He imagined the forest as it might be beyond the visible edge, a hidden world untouched by humans, filled with life unknown to anyone else. He pictured strange plants, secret streams, and perhaps even the remnants of those who came before, long forgotten by history. The idea excited and frightened him in equal measure. He remembered his father's words, the stern warning that had been repeated over and over. Some things are not meant for our eyes. Breaking the rule seemed unthinkable, yet the pull of curiosity was relentless. Emma noticed the change in him. Her father, usually so composed and calm, seemed restless. He lingered longer by the woods, staring at the trees with a thoughtful expression. Sometimes he would pause mid-chore, lost in thought, and she would ask gently, "What are you thinking about, Dad?" He would always smile and give a vague answer, but Emma could sense that something had shifted. It was a small mystery, one she did not press. She trusted that her father knew what he was doing, even if it meant keeping secrets from her. Despite his internal conflict, Jack continued his routines, finding comfort in the familiar tasks of ranch life. He fed the cattle carefully, noting any signs of illness or distress. He checked fences for weak spots, reinforced gates, and ensured that the barn was clean and secure. Each task provided a sense of control, a reassurance that the world was manageable and predictable. Yet as the days passed, he found himself stealing glances toward the edge of the forest, drawn by the unknown, wondering what might be waiting beyond the line his father had set. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and cast long shadows across the fields, Jack walked the perimeter of the ranch. Rusty trotted faithfully beside him, and Emma followed at a slight distance, gathering wildflowers for the kitchen table. Jack stopped abruptly at a place where the forest seemed darker, denser than usual. The sunlight barely reached the ground here, filtered through thick branches and leaves. He noticed something unusual: broken branches, faint footprints, and a mark on a tree he had never seen before. It was small, almost hidden, but distinct. It called to him in a way he could not explain. He crouched to inspect it, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. For a moment he allowed himself to imagine what lay beyond. Perhaps it was nothing, just an animal or a trick of nature, he told himself. Yet the curiosity gnawed at him. He felt a stirring he had not experienced since he was a boy exploring the woods with his friends, a thrill of discovery tempered by caution. He stood, brushing dirt from his hands, and told himself firmly to forget it, to return to the barn and focus on the tasks at hand. But the image of the hidden place lingered in his mind, like a secret waiting to be uncovered. That night, as he sat on the porch with Emma beside him and Rusty resting his head on Jack's lap, he found his thoughts drifting back to the forbidden land. The stars twinkled above, and the quiet of the night seemed to amplify the temptation. He could almost hear the forest calling, whispering secrets he had long been forbidden to know. Jack's heart ached with the weight of curiosity and duty, a tension he had never before felt so strongly. He remembered his father's warnings, the firm voice that had echoed through the years. Some things are not meant for our eyes. Yet, for the first time, Jack wondered why. What was so dangerous that it required secrecy? Why had his father, a man of reason and practicality, insisted on forbidding this place? The questions spun in his mind, unanswered, growing heavier with each passing day. Sleep came fitfully that night, filled with dreams of the hidden forest and the mysteries it might hold. Jack awoke before dawn, restless and unable to shake the thoughts that lingered in his mind. He went about his chores mechanically, his hands working while his mind wandered. Every sight and sound, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the lowing of the cattle, seemed to remind him of the forbidden land, calling him closer. As the morning sun rose, painting the fields in shades of gold and green, Jack made a decision. Not yet, he told himself, not today, but soon. He would need to prepare, to think carefully about what he might encounter. He could not ignore the pull of the unknown, nor the responsibility that came with it. He knew that stepping beyond the boundaries his father had set would change everything. And yet, the desire to uncover the secret, to see what had been hidden for generations, was too strong to resist. Jack Thompson's life had been one of routine, order, and quiet satisfaction. but a single spark of curiosity was about to set him on a path that would challenge everything he had ever known. The ranch, the forest, and the rules of his father's world were about to collide with a longing that could not be denied. And as he looked toward the edge of the forbidden land, he felt the first stirrings of a journey that would test his courage, his judgment, and the very essence of who he was. Days passed since Jack first noticed the strange markings near the edge of the forest, but the curiosity in his mind refused to fade. Every morning, as he went about his chores, he found his eyes drifting toward the forbidden land, his thoughts pulled by an invisible thread. The forest seemed different somehow. The trees, usually familiar and comforting, now seemed alive with secrets, whispering in the rustle of their leaves. Jack could not shake the feeling that something waited for him beyond the shadows, something meant to be discovered, but hidden for reasons he did not yet understand. The more he tried to ignore it, the stronger the urge became. It was not recklessness or defiance that called to him. It was curiosity, pure and insistent, demanding an answer to a question he did not know how to phrase. Jack's days, once so orderly, were now interrupted by small moments of distraction. He would pause mid-task, staring toward the dense thicket at the forest's edge, imagining what could lie beyond. His mind was filled with pictures of secret valleys, hidden streams, and things he could not name. Emma, perceptive and intuitive, noticed the change in her father. She had always admired his dedication and calm nature, but now he seemed restless. One morning, while helping him feed the cattle, she asked gently, "Dad, are you thinking about something?" Jack smiled, brushing a bead of sweat from his forehead, and said lightly, "Just making sure the cows are happy, Emma." But she knew better. She sensed the tension in his shoulders, the distant look in his eyes, and the way he lingered at the edge of the pasture, as if listening for a sound only he could hear. Jack found it difficult to explain what he felt, even to himself. The pull of the forbidden land was unlike anything he had experienced. It was not merely curiosity. It was as though the forest itself was calling him, urging him to step closer. One evening, as the sun began to set and the sky turned brilliant shades of orange and pink, he walked along the perimeter of the forest. Rusty padded quietly beside him, sensing his restlessness. Jack paused, looking at a tree marked with a symbol he had not seen before. It was small, carved long ago into the bark, weathered by time but still distinct. He knelt to examine it, running his fingers over the grooves. The mark seemed to pulse with a strange energy, stirring a mixture of excitement and fear in his heart. That night Jack could not sleep. The image of the hidden forest haunted him, vivid in his mind's eye. He imagined walking among the trees, discovering secret glades, streams glimmering in the sunlight, and perhaps even evidence of those who had lived there long ago. He tried to push the thoughts away, telling himself that his father's warnings were wise and that some places were forbidden for good reason. But the temptation was too strong, and the idea of leaving the secret unexplored filled him with a restless longing he could not ignore. The next morning Jack rose earlier than usual. The first light of dawn spilled over the fields, casting long shadows that danced among the tall grasses. He prepared a small bag with essentials, a water bottle, a sturdy knife, a notebook, and a lantern. He told himself he was only going to look briefly, to satisfy a lingering question in his mind. He knew he had to be careful, not only for his own safety, but also for the integrity of the land. As he stepped toward the forest, Rusty followed closely, tail wagging, sensing the importance of the moment. The forest was different than Jack had imagined. The trees were taller, their branches entwined in a natural canopy that filtered the sunlight into soft, golden beams. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, a fragrance both calming and mysterious. The deeper he walked, the quieter the world outside seemed to become. Even the sounds of birds and insects were subdued, as if the forest itself had a rhythm and life separate from the rest of the world. Jack felt a shiver of anticipation. He was stepping into a place untouched by human hands, a hidden sanctuary that few had seen. As he ventured further, Jack noticed signs of life. Unusual plants with leaves that shimmered in the sunlight, small animals darting between the trees, and delicate flowers growing in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. The forest felt alive, vibrant with hidden beauty, and Jack's awe grew with each step. He kept a careful pace, aware that he was in unknown territory. Every sound, every shadow felt significant. The forest was teaching him a new kind of respect, one born not of routine and chores, but of wonder and discovery. Eventually, Jack came upon a small clearing. In the center stood an old, weathered cabin, partially hidden by overgrown vines and moss. Its wooden walls were cracked and worn by time, but it had a quiet dignity, as though it had been waiting for someone to find it. Jack approached cautiously, noting the careful placement of stones around the doorway and the remnants of a small garden, now wild and untended. Something about the cabin felt familiar, as though it carried echoes of the past that were connected to the land he loved so dearly. Inside, Jack found evidence of a life once lived in solitude. The cabin was simple: a wooden table, a few chairs, and shelves lined with jars and tools. On the table lay a notebook, its pages filled with careful handwriting and detailed sketches of plants, animals, and the surrounding landscape. Jack realized that someone had lived here, someone who had studied the forest and its secrets with care and dedication. He felt a connection to this unknown person, a sense of shared purpose and respect for the natural world. The more he explored, the more Jack understood that the forbidden land was not dangerous in a conventional sense. It had been protected, carefully hidden, to preserve its beauty and mystery. His father's warning, he realized, had not been about fear or superstition, but about respect. Some places are meant to remain untouched, their secrets safeguarded for those who approach with care and responsibility. Jack felt a mixture of relief and reverence. He had crossed the boundary, but he understood the weight of his actions and the responsibility it carried. As he sat on the floor of the cabin, flipping through the notebook, Jack thought about the stories contained within its pages. They told of a life lived in harmony with the forest, of careful observation and deep respect for every living thing. Jack felt inspired. Perhaps he, too, could learn from this hidden world, not to dominate it, but to understand it. The sense of wonder and discovery filled him with a renewed purpose. For the first time, he saw the forest not as a mysterious, forbidden place, but as a teacher, offering lessons in patience, curiosity, and respect for the natural world. Hours passed unnoticed as Jack explored every corner of the cabin, taking careful notes and sketching what he saw. Rusty lay at his feet, eyes half closed but alert, sensing the importance of this moment. When Jack finally stepped outside, the sun was beginning to dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor. He felt a profound sense of gratitude for the land, for the life he had, and for the chance to uncover a secret that had remained hidden for generations. As he made his way back to the ranch, Jack realized that this journey had changed him. The forbidden land had taught him about curiosity, responsibility, and the delicate balance between discovery and respect. He knew that he would return, carefully and thoughtfully, to explore more of what lay beyond. But he also knew that he had to share his experience wisely, preserving the secret while learning from it. That evening, as Jack sat on the porch with Emma beside him, he felt a quiet joy. Rusty rested his head on Jack's knee, and the air was filled with the comforting sounds of the ranch at dusk. Jack did not speak of the forest, not yet. But he knew that a new chapter of his life had begun, one that would challenge him, inspire him, and connect him to a hidden world he had long been forbidden to see. The forest had called, and he had listened, not recklessly but with care and respect. And in doing so, he had taken the first step into a story that would change everything. Jack Thompson could not get the hidden forest out of his mind. Every day, he found his thoughts drifting back to the small cabin, the unusual plants, and the secret life that had once been lived there. The forest had stirred something in him that he could not ignore, a mixture of wonder, curiosity, and responsibility. He knew that returning to explore further carried risks to his safety, to the land, and even to his reputation in the town. But the pull was irresistible, and after days of careful thought, he decided he would go back. Early one morning, before the sun had fully risen, Jack prepared his things. He packed a bag with water, extra supplies, a notebook, and a camera to document anything unusual he found. He checked the fences one last time, ensuring that the cattle were secure, and told Emma he was going to inspect the forest's edge. She looked at him curiously but did not question him, sensing that he was on an important mission. Rusty wagged his tail, ready to accompany him, and together they set off into the quiet morning mist. As Jack approached the forbidden land, he felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The forest greeted him like an old friend, the familiar sense of pine and damp earth welcoming him back. He noticed how the light fell differently through the trees in the early morning, casting shadows that moved like silent spirits over the mossy ground. Every step he took seemed deliberate, careful, as though he were walking on sacred ground. Rusty padded beside him, alert to every sound but trusting Jack to lead the way. Deeper into the forest, Jack discovered a small stream he had not noticed before. The water was crystal clear, flowing over smooth stones, reflecting the sunlight in shimmering patterns. He knelt to drink and marveled at the life around him. Tiny insects dancing on the surface, fish darting beneath the ripples, and wildflowers growing along the bank. It was a scene untouched by human hands, pure and serene, and Jack felt a deep sense of respect. The forest was alive in ways he had never imagined, and every discovery seemed to confirm that this hidden place had been protected for a reason. Following the stream, Jack noticed that the forest became denser. The trees grew taller, their trunks thick and strong, and their branches formed a canopy that filtered the sunlight into golden streaks. Birds sang in hidden corners, and the wind carried faint whispers of the past. Jack felt a strange sense of anticipation. He knew that he was approaching something significant, something that had remained hidden from the world for generations. The air seemed charged with possibility, and he moved carefully, knowing that every step could lead to a discovery that would change his life. Soon, Jack reached a part of the forest that was completely new to him. The ground was covered in soft moss, and the trees formed a natural archway, as if inviting him to enter. Beyond the archway lay a small valley, more beautiful than he could have imagined. Wildflowers of every color carpeted the ground, and a gentle stream wound its way through the center. Birds flitted among the branches, and deer grazed peacefully, seemingly unafraid of Jack's presence. He felt a mixture of awe and humility, realizing that he had stumbled upon a hidden sanctuary, a place where nature thrived without interference. In the middle of the valley, Jack noticed something unusual, a stone structure, weathered by time but still standing strong. It looked like a small shrine, carefully constructed and surrounded by symbols carved into the stones. Jack approached it cautiously, studying the markings. They were intricate and detailed, clearly made by someone who had lived here and cared deeply about the land. He realized that this was not just a natural place. It was a sacred space, created to honor the forest and protect its secrets. A sense of reverence filled him, and he knew that he had entered a world that demanded respect and careful thought. As he explored the valley, Jack found signs of previous visitors. Footprints in the soft soil, remnants of small fires and tools left behind, suggested that someone had lived here, studying the forest and its wonders. He wondered about the person who had dedicated their life to this hidden place, someone who had chosen solitude over the world, protecting a secret that Jack had only just begun to understand. The thought inspired him. He realized that his curiosity, though it had led him into forbidden territory, was not reckless. It was a continuation of a tradition of respect and careful observation. Hours passed as Jack explored the valley, taking notes, sketching the plants, and photographing the unusual flora and fauna. He discovered plants that seemed unknown, their leaves and flowers unlike anything he had seen before. He watched birds building nests, insects pollinating flowers, and deer drinking from the stream. The forest was alive with intricate patterns and delicate balances, and Jack felt a deep connection to this hidden world. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive, engaged with the land in a way that went beyond chores and routines. As he ventured further, Jack noticed something that made his heart skip a beat: a small cave, partially hidden behind a waterfall. The sound of water crashing gently into a pool below was soothing, and the mist created a sparkling curtain that shimmered in the sunlight. Jack approached carefully, peering inside. The cave was dark but not threatening, and he could see faint markings on the walls, symbols similar to those he had seen at the stone shrine. It was clear that someone had used this place for a purpose, perhaps for meditation, study, or protection of the forest's secrets. Jack felt both excitement and a profound sense of responsibility. He knew that he was not just exploring, he was becoming a guardian of something precious. While examining the cave, Jack realized that he had lost track of time. The sun was beginning to dip lower, casting long shadows across the valley. He knew he needed to return to the ranch before darkness fell, but he was reluctant to leave. Rusty nudged him gently, reminding him that it was time to go. Jack made one last sweep of the valley, committing every detail to memory. He knew that he would return, but he also understood that he must be careful, preserving the integrity of this hidden world. As he made his way back through the forest, Jack's thoughts turned to the people in the town. He wondered what they would think if they knew he had ventured into the forbidden land. Some might be angry, others fearful. He knew that breaking the rules set by his father could bring consequences, both social and personal. Yet he also realized that the discoveries he had made were valuable, not just for him, but potentially for the entire community. The forest held secrets that could teach lessons about nature, responsibility, and respect, and Jack felt a duty to protect and share them wisely. By the time he reached the edge of the forest, the sun had set, painting the sky in deep shades of red and purple. The familiar sounds of the ranch greeted him: cows lowing in the pastures, the distant call of an owl, and the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind. Jack felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. He had crossed into a forbidden world, discovered its wonders, and returned safely. But he knew that the journey was only beginning. The forest had more to reveal, and he was determined to learn its secrets while respecting the balance his father had warned him about. That evening, Jack shared a quiet dinner with Emma. He spoke of everyday matters: the cattle, the fences, the weather, but he did not mention the forest. He could not explain what he had seen in words that would do justice to its beauty and significance. Instead, he spoke with a renewed sense of calm and purpose, and Emma noticed the change. Her father seemed more thoughtful, more connected to the world around him. Rusty lay at their feet, content and watchful. The air in the house was peaceful, but beneath it, Jack's mind buzzed with plans and ideas for the future. As night fell, Jack stepped outside onto the porch, looking up at the stars. He thought about the hidden valley, the shrine, the cave, and the life that had once existed there. He realized that he was part of a larger story, one that connected him to generations of people who had respected and protected the land. The forest had called to him, and he had answered. In doing so, he had entered a world of mystery, beauty, and responsibility. And though he knew that challenges awaited, questions from the town, moral dilemmas, and the need to protect what he had discovered, he felt ready. He had taken the first step into a new chapter of his life, one that would test his courage, integrity, and love for the land he called home. Jack Thompson had crossed the line into the forbidden land. He had done what few dared to do, but he had done so with respect, care, and curiosity. And as he looked toward the darkened forest, he knew that his journey was far from over. The unthinkable had begun, and the forest would reveal its secrets, one discovery at a time. Jack Thompson returned to the ranch with a mixture of excitement and unease. The hidden valley and the cave, the shrine and the unusual plants, all of it had changed something inside him. He felt alive in a way he never had before, connected to the world around him and to a story that stretched far beyond his own life. Yet, with that wonder came a weight he could not ignore. He had crossed boundaries set by his father, defied a rule that had been passed down for generations, and ventured into the forbidden. Now he had to face the consequences, both within himself and in the eyes of the community. At first, Jack tried to continue his daily routines as though nothing had changed. He fed the cattle, repaired fences, and tended the fields, but he could not shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching him. The forest, once distant and untouchable, now felt close, almost alive with awareness. Every sound of rustling leaves, every distant bird call, reminded him of the secret he had discovered. Even Rusty seemed more alert, following Jack's gaze whenever he looked toward the edge of the forest. Jack realized that his life had shifted in subtle but profound ways. Soon, rumors began to circulate in the town. People noticed that Jack was more distracted than usual. They saw him staring toward the forest, taking notes and wandering off alone at odd hours. Small comments were made in hushed tones. "Have you noticed Jack? He's been acting strange lately. I wonder what he's up to out there." Jack heard these whispers but said nothing. He knew that speaking openly about the forbidden land could bring anger, suspicion, and even fear. The town had long held the forest in superstition, and anyone who dared to challenge the rules risked their reputation. Despite his caution, Jack could not keep the secret completely to himself. One afternoon, while repairing a fence near the edge of the forest, he noticed a young man from the town, Thomas, watching him curiously. Thomas was friendly but nosy, always eager to know more about what was happening on the Thompson ranch. Jack felt a flicker of worry. He smiled politely and greeted him, but Thomas's eyes were sharp, noticing the tension in Jack's shoulders and the faraway look in his eyes. Jack realized that his actions were already beginning to ripple beyond the safety of his own property. At home, Jack struggled with his conscience. He knew that the discoveries he had made were remarkable. The hidden valley, the shrine, the cave, and the unusual plants, these were treasures of nature, preserved for centuries. They held lessons about balance, patience, and respect. Yet he also knew that breaking the rule meant he had acted against the wisdom of his father and the expectations of the community. The weight of this knowledge pressed on him, and he found himself questioning whether he had been right to enter the forbidden land at all. Emma noticed the change in her father's demeanor. He was quieter than usual, thoughtful in ways that suggested inner conflict. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun set, Emma asked gently, "Dad, is something bothering you?" Jack hesitated, then shook his head. "Just thinking, Emma," he said softly. "Sometimes the world has mysteries that are hard to understand." She nodded, sensing that there was more he was not saying. Jack loved his daughter deeply, and the thought of keeping secrets from her caused a pang of guilt. He wanted to share the beauty and wonder he had found, but he also knew that it was not yet the right time. As the days passed, Jack's actions began to attract attention from other townsfolk. Some were curious, others suspicious, and a few were openly critical. Mr. Reynolds, a neighbor who had known Jack's father, approached him one afternoon while he was repairing a gate. "Jack, I've heard stories," he said cautiously. "People say you've been wandering near the forbidden forest. You know what your father warned you. Jack nodded, feeling the familiar mix of guilt and resolve. "I understand, sir," he replied, "but there are things out there that need care and respect, and I'm being careful, Mr." Reynolds frowned, uncertain whether to trust him, and left without another word. The situation became more complicated when Jack discovered that some of the plants in the hidden valley had potential benefits for the community. There were herbs with healing properties, wild fruits that could be cultivated responsibly, and streams of clear water that could be used to supplement the town's supplies. Jack realized that the knowledge he had gained was valuable, not only for himself but for the people around him. Yet he also understood that sharing it recklessly could destroy the delicate balance of the forest. He was faced with a dilemma: protect the secret completely or share it carefully for the greater good. Jack wrestled with this decision for days. He spoke to no one, walking the ranch early in the morning, letting Rusty follow silently. He thought about his father's warnings, the history of the land, and the importance of responsibility. Slowly, he began to formulate a plan. If the forest's secrets were to benefit anyone, it must be done with respect and caution. He could not allow greed, fear, or curiosity without care to disturb the hidden valley. Jack realized that he had a duty, not only to the forest, but to the community and to his daughter, who would one day inherit the ranch. One afternoon, Jack decided to return to the forbidden land. He needed to explore further, to understand the scope of what he had discovered, and to ensure that the forest could be preserved. Rusty padded faithfully beside him as they made their way through the trees, the sunlight filtering softly through the canopy. Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was no longer just curious. He was a guardian, responsible for the balance of a hidden world that few had seen and fewer had understood. In the forest, Jack found new wonders. He discovered a small grove of ancient trees, their trunks thick and twisted with age, roots intertwined in a complex network that nourished the entire valley. He observed birds building nests in careful harmony with the environment, and insects pollinating flowers in intricate patterns. He realized that the forest was more than a collection of plants and animals. It was a living system, delicate and interconnected, and he was part of it now, a witness and protector. But Jack also noticed signs of potential threats. There were faint traces of people who might stumble upon the valley unknowingly, footprints in the soft soil, broken branches near the stream, and even remnants of litter from hikers who had wandered too close. He understood that even innocent curiosity from outsiders could harm the forest. This realization deepened his sense of responsibility. He knew that sharing the knowledge of the valley with the town would require careful planning and trust. The forest's secrets could not be revealed recklessly. By the time Jack returned to the ranch, the sun was low in the sky, casting golden light over the fields. He felt both exhausted and exhilarated. He had seen the wonders of the forest again, and had gained a clearer understanding of the responsibility that came with discovery. Yet, he also knew that the path forward was fraught with challenges. How would he balance the need to protect the forest with the potential benefits it offered? How would he face the community's judgment, and would they understand the importance of careful stewardship? That evening, Jack spoke with Emma about his thoughts in a careful, measured way. "Emma," he said, "there are places in this world that must be respected, even when they are beautiful or tempting. Some things are not meant to be taken lightly." She listened attentively, sensing the depth of his words. Jack wanted her to understand that curiosity must be tempered with responsibility, and that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that protect the greater good. Emma nodded, her young mind absorbing the lessons her father had learned, preparing her for the day she would inherit not just the ranch, but the knowledge and wisdom that came with it. Over the next few weeks, Jack worked tirelessly to prepare. He organized his notes, documented the plants and streams, and carefully mapped the hidden valley in his mind and on paper. He made plans for how he might reveal the forest's secrets to a select few, those who could be trusted to respect its delicate balance. All the while, he continued his daily routines on the ranch, keeping the appearance of normalcy while carrying the weight of knowledge that could change the town and his own life forever. Jack understood that the moment he shared what he had discovered, there would be consequences. Some would admire him, others would fear him, and a few might even resent him for breaking the rules of the past. Yet he also knew that keeping the knowledge entirely to himself would deny the community the potential benefits of the hidden land. The decision was not easy, but Jack had learned from the forest. Wisdom comes from observation, patience, and careful action. He would act, but with thoughtfulness, respect, and humility. As the sun set over the Thompson Ranch, Jack felt a sense of calm determination. He had crossed the line into the forbidden land and had seen wonders that few could imagine. He had felt fear, awe, and responsibility in equal measure. Now, he faced the consequences of his actions, not only from the town and the memory of his father, but from the moral weight of protecting something precious. Jack Thompson had taken the first steps into a world that demanded courage, judgment, and respect. And as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, he knew that his journey was only beginning. The forest, the valley, and the hidden wonders had become a part of him, shaping his choices and his vision for the future. He would face the challenges ahead with careful thought, understanding that sometimes the unthinkable is necessary to uncover truths that are greater than ourselves. And as he looked toward the darkened horizon, Jack knew that the lessons of the forbidden land would guide him, even as he prepared to reveal its secrets to those he trusted. Jack Thompson had spent weeks preparing himself for the most important decision of his life. The hidden valley, the ancient shrine, the cave, and the unusual plants had become a part of him, shaping his thoughts and purpose. He understood that the discoveries he had made could benefit the community, but only if shared with care. Revealing the secrets recklessly could destroy the delicate balance of the forest, harm its wildlife, and undo the work of generations who had protected it. Jack had learned that responsibility was as important as curiosity, and he was determined to act wisely. One bright morning, Jack set out with Rusty by his side. He carried notebooks, sketches, and samples of some harmless plants, careful not to disturb the forest. His goal was to approach a few trusted elders from the town, people who had lived long lives of honesty, respect, and understanding. These were individuals who valued wisdom and experience over gossip and fear. Jack knew that if he could gain their support, they could help him ensure that the hidden land would be protected while also being used responsibly. The first person Jack visited was Mr. Reynolds, the neighbor who had questioned him weeks earlier. Jack explained gently and clearly what he had discovered, showing sketches and photographs. He spoke of the valley, the shrine, the streams, and the extraordinary plants, emphasizing that the land needed careful protection. Mr. Reynolds listened intently, his brow furrowed with both concern and wonder. When Jack finished, there was a long pause, and then Mr. Reynolds nodded slowly. "I understand, Jack," he said. "This is something special, something that deserves respect. You're right to be cautious. I'll help you keep it safe." Jack felt a deep relief. This was the first step in turning his unthinkable actions into a force for good. Encouraged, Jack approached a few more trusted townspeople, each of them sharing the same cautious respect. Some were skeptical, some worried, but all agreed that the land needed to be protected. Together, they began planning how the valley could be used carefully for the community, without disturbing its natural beauty or balance. They decided that only a select few would be allowed to visit, and all would be required to follow strict rules. Jack felt a sense of pride and responsibility. The forest's secrets were safe in their hands. Jack's relationship with Emma also grew stronger during this time. He shared with her the lessons he had learned. That curiosity must be balanced with responsibility. that breaking rules is sometimes necessary, but that every action has consequences. Emma listened attentively, asking questions, and expressing her own thoughts about the forest and its wonders. Jack realized that teaching her these lessons was as important as protecting the land itself. He wanted her to inherit not just the ranch, but the wisdom to make careful, thoughtful decisions in life. One day, Jack returned to the valley to check on the plants and streams. He was careful not to disturb anything, observing quietly and taking notes. He marveled at how life thrived there, the delicate balance of flora and fauna, the harmony of birds, insects, and animals living together peacefully. The experience filled him with awe and humility. He realized that the forest was teaching him more than just practical lessons. It was showing him the importance of patience, respect, and understanding the consequences of every action. He felt deeply connected to the land, knowing that he was now part of its story. As the community slowly learned about the hidden land through Jack and the trusted elders, attitudes began to change. Some townspeople were cautious at first, unsure of what to make of the discoveries. But as Jack shared carefully, showing the benefits of the plants, the streams, and the potential for learning about nature, people began to see the value in his actions. The hidden valley became a place of quiet learning, a sanctuary where knowledge and respect were the highest priorities. Jack felt a sense of fulfillment knowing that his unthinkable step had not led to destruction, but to growth and understanding. However, Jack also understood that the work was ongoing. Protecting the forest required constant vigilance and careful planning. He and the trusted elders implemented rules. No one could enter the valley without permission. Visitors had to follow strict guidelines, and the land would never be exploited for profit. They monitored the plants and wildlife, ensuring that the delicate balance remained intact. Jack felt a deep sense of responsibility, knowing that the decisions made today would shape the forest's future for generations to come. Despite the challenges, Jack also found joy and wonder in the valley. He discovered new plants, observed animals in their natural habitats, and learned from the patterns and rhythms of the forest. He recorded everything in his notebooks, preserving knowledge for the future. Rusty continued to accompany him, loyal and attentive, while Emma often joined him on special visits, learning firsthand about the importance of observation, care, and respect for nature. These experiences became a source of bonding and learning, strengthening the family's connection to the land and to each other. Jack reflected on the journey that had brought him here. What began as a simple spark of curiosity had turned into a life-changing experience. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and moral dilemmas, yet he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around him. The forest had tested him, challenged him, and ultimately guided him toward a greater understanding of responsibility and courage. He realized that sometimes the unthinkable is necessary to uncover truths that are hidden, to protect what is valuable, and to create something meaningful for the future. As the seasons changed, the valley became a living classroom. The trusted townspeople guided careful exploration, teaching children and adults alike about the wonders of nature. The plants were studied for their potential benefits, and the streams provided clean water for the community. All who visited were required to show respect, patience, and care. Jack felt immense pride in seeing the impact of his actions, knowing that the forbidden land had become a force for good, preserving its beauty while offering lessons and resources to the town. Jack's story also became a quiet inspiration for others. People began to understand that rules and warnings exist for a reason, but that thoughtful courage can lead to discovery and positive change. His journey demonstrated that curiosity, when guided by responsibility and respect, can create a bridge between the unknown and the known, between fear and understanding. Jack Thompson had taken a risk, ventured into the forbidden, and emerged with wisdom that would benefit not only himself but generations to come. In the evenings, Jack often sat on the porch with Emma and Rusty, reflecting on the day. The stars above the ranch seemed brighter now, a reminder of the vastness and mystery of the world. Jack shared stories of the valley, the shrine, and the forest, careful to convey lessons about respect, patience, and responsibility. Emma listened with wide eyes, inspired by her father's courage and wisdom. Rusty rested peacefully at their feet, a silent companion who had shared in every moment of the journey. These quiet evenings became a time of reflection and bonding, a reminder that life is full of mysteries waiting to be discovered, but that every discovery comes with responsibility. Jack also took time to document his journey for the future. He wrote in his notebooks about the hidden valley, the plants, the streams, and the shrine. He recorded observations of animals, patterns of growth, and lessons learned from the forest. These writings were not meant for immediate recognition or reward. They were a legacy, a guide for those who would follow, a testament to the importance of respect, patience, and careful action. Jack knew that one day, Emma might inherit not just the ranch, but the knowledge and wisdom contained in these notes, ensuring that the forbidden land remained protected for generations. Years passed, and the story of the hidden valley became part of the town's quiet history. People spoke of Jack Thompson with respect, not only for his courage in exploring the forbidden land, but for his wisdom in protecting it. The valley remained a sanctuary, a place of learning and harmony, and Jack's legacy was one of balance, respect, and thoughtful action. The unthinkable step he had taken years ago had become a story of inspiration, showing that courage guided by responsibility can transform fear into understanding and secrecy into knowledge. As Jack grew older, he often returned to the valley, walking carefully along familiar paths, observing the rhythms of life, and appreciating the beauty that had once been hidden from the world. He reflected on the journey that had begun with a spark of curiosity and had led to discovery, responsibility, and legacy. The forest had taught him that the world is full of wonders waiting to be seen, but that every action carries consequences. Jack understood that true courage is not recklessness, it is the willingness to act wisely, guided by respect and care. In the end, Jack Thompson's life was forever changed by the forbidden forest. He had stepped into the unknown, faced fear and moral dilemmas, and emerged with knowledge, wisdom, and a legacy that would last far beyond his years. The valley, the shrine, the cave, and the streams remained protected, a testament to the power of curiosity tempered by responsibility. Jack had done the unthinkable, and in doing so, he had not only discovered the secrets of the forest, but had also discovered the depth of his own courage, integrity, and love for the world around him. And as he looked toward the horizon, the sun rising over the fields he had cared for all his life, Jack knew that the story was not just about the forbidden land. It was about the choices we make, the responsibility we carry, and the courage to step into the unknown with respect. Wisdom and heart.